Spooky Kid.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Oh, you do the intros though.
Man, okay. All right.
That's your thing. That's what gotta be consistent.
All right, ready? Welcome back, everybody, to another podcast episode of Spooky Kid. Episode 7? No. 8. 8. Episode 8. I'm so lost. Episode 8. Today, our guests are Sue and Kenny.
Woo!
And co-host Jordan tonight.
Yeah. You're
The
welcome.
OG. You know.
Don't we look there?
Yours is that one.
Ah,
Ours is that one. White shot is the iPhone.
there you go.
Yeah. I mean, if you're feeling a little different, I guess you
If
can.
you want to, like, you know, scare the people a little bit, you know. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into the horror stuff because you guys obviously are anxious to tell us your guys' experience.
Yeah, let's hear some paranormal experiences.
Yes.
I know you both got some stuff up your sleeve.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if we'd really classify this as horror as much as just like a paranormal thing, because we were talking about a couple of things, but I think that what we decided on talking about is astral projection and sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis is kind of a little more into like the horror realm.
Yeah.
But yeah, where to even start with that? What do you?
Well,
think?
you can start with what you were talking about earlier about how you were trying to use your sleep paralysis as a kind of segue into astral projection.
Yeah, so it was a couple of years ago, and I was just reading about like astral projection when I was I was in a very spiritual phase, and just because I've had a lot of experiences and a lot of times where I have fallen into sleep paralysis, and the things I was reading were saying that sleep paralysis is the first or could be a segue into astral projection. So I mean, I guess it's important to talk about sleep paralysis first. And have you ever had sleep paralysis?
I haven't, but I do know that it is part of that sort of astral projection sort of phases. You can have it. Sometimes you don't have it. But I also hear a lot of people having sleep paralysis. It doesn't have anything to do with that astral projection. So I haven't personally experienced it. I was kind of curious what it felt like, but
Yeah, I mean, for me, it mostly just feels like a pressure in my chest, like I'm kind of being pushed down into the bed, and it's more like I can't move and I can't speak. I can like open my eyes a little bit, but it's like they want to stay shut, and my eyes like want to kind of like stay rolled back in my head. And normally I don't see stuff until like the last couple times, but I'll get into that later. You know, I'll let Kenny take it away.
So real quick for everybody who doesn't know, how would you differentiate sleep paralysis and the astral projection?
Girl, you're out of your body.
No, I know, but there's
I
people
guess
out there who don't know.
You'll find out because I'm a very big sleep paralysis experiencer, and then you're astral projection experiencer. Right? So we'll get both of our stories, but I guess the big difference is that sleep paralysis is like your consciousness being trapped in your body, but your body can't move, but you're like aware of things. Whereas astral projection, how would you describe it?
It is that, I guess maybe probably getting into it, being completely awake in a dream state, or
that
this is our
Little cockroach.
don't. That's disgusting. Sue, don't
go
touch
away.
it.
Sorry about that, Sue. As you were saying before,
As I was saying.
Jordan rudely jumped out.
Sorry, look, it's got wings. It's gonna
jump on
fly.
her. It's gonna jump on her lap. She's gonna
Bruh, like,
It's
what is it?
dangerous.
What is it actually?
Do you want me to eat it?
don't
No.
step on it. We'll
I
let
don't
it
wanna
be
step on it.
free. It
Yeah.
needs to have
It's
its own
far enough
experience.
away now.
Doesn't have a
Okay.
stinger, I don't think, so it's okay. It's a friend.
Protein on legs. Anyway.
1 gram protein.
That's right.
Oh my god. Okay, wow, getting into murder. Oh, I'm just kidding.
So I guess that sort of, I got kind of like what you got really interested in this phenomenon that was happening to you. You're like, okay, what's happening? And then I always kind of had that sort of similar experience of really kind of getting interested in this astral projection. out of body experiences. And I guess astral projection to me is kind of different,
Okay.
where it's an idea that you're going to purposefully go someplace where, I don't know, out of body experience might be a little bit more of, oh, here I am, I'm out.
And you're looking at yourself.
Yeah, maybe there's differentiations
So it's
that
like the
shouldn't be
difference
there.
between being trapped and then being free. It's just like your consciousness like being tied versus being let go.
Yeah.
Or more of the voyage. Like, I don't know, astral projection, I guess maybe they might be the exact same thing, and maybe it's semantics, but
Slight difference, you know.
Yeah.
or other, but there were so many different elements to this astral projection, and that sleep paralysis was one of them. These sounds that you hear, I was fascinated by kind of learning about this and reading it, that people are having these very similar experiences that were, oh my gosh, people are having these experiences where they have sleep paralysis. People are having experiences where they were hearing this like a real
That's
whoosh.
exactly
Yeah, it's
right.
like,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, I'm experiencing this. Why? So all of a sudden, these experiences were kind of going, oh, you have
There's
this
a connection.
There's this connection that people are like this sort of sleep paralysis. Is it leading to somewhere else? I kind of feel like the sleep paralysis is kind of what you said, or you might have said it where it's your body is asleep, but your
Well,
mind is awake.
yeah, it's because, like, when you're sleeping, there's different stages of it. And then, like, there's REM, which is where you're, like, when you start dreaming and stuff. So I'm pretty sure that's, like, the state your body's in when you're having sleep paralysis. So your body is, like, you don't move. It's more of, like, a safety thing, when you're sleeping. Because if we're moving around all that stuff, wouldn't really be that good. But, your body's still in that state. It's not like your brain kind of hasn't really signaled for it all to all wake up and stuff. So
Right.
initially when you wake up, you're kind of too focused on being like, am I being possessed right now? Like, what's going on? And you're
'Cause
too
it's
focused on
so
that to
odd.
then to wake up. You're like, wait, what's happening right now? And then that's when you start like kind of fighting it. You're like, I need to get up now. I need to move.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's just interesting because even for me, like I was telling you guys back in the house, when I'm like, because I've had it so many times that I don't freak out in my head when I'm falling to sleep paralysis.
I still do it. I have it all the time, and I
Really?
still every
Yeah.
time,
Every time?
every
Well,
time.
it's weird. Like I don't freak out, but it's still like it's still a terrifying experience, even though myself like it's weird. I feel like there's like two things. There's like my logical self that's like, all right, you know what this is. You've been in this a million times. You know how to get out of it. And then there's the other part that's like,
Now you're
this
subconscious.
is terrifying. Like there's noises going on, and like you like. So I guess
You
I'll.
gotta write it out when it happens.
Yeah.
So
Write it out.
I'll just talk about my experience then, just because I've had it so many times. I still remember my first time it happened, but it follows the same thing. Like I'm about to fall asleep, and then I feel my body start vibrating and buzzing, and then I can immediately tell when I'm like locked into it because it literally feels like that. It's like a snap, and like my body is now just like vibrating and it's stuck where it is. And I can choose to open my eyes or I can choose to close it. If I choose to close it, because when you open it, and it's very common with people, you experience hallucinations. Like my first time, I remember my eyes were open and I saw the door to my bedroom open, and then I saw two black masses float into my room and go over to the blinds, like peek out and then like walk out. And the whole time I'm just sitting there, and it's like the more I try to move like my hands or my body, it's like the vibration intensifies. And it's like something is like locking my body down. So it's like I try to move it, it's like, zzz, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The whole time, like there's noises in my ear going. Like anytime I try to move, it's like the noises get more intense. So if I'm not moving, it's like shoo, shoo. And the second I try to
It's
move,
more soothing. It's not just.
yeah. Well, I don't know.
Or,
I love that they soothing.
it's less of that crazy.
Changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I try to move, it's like zhoo, 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 zhoo. And it's like it's so hard, and we'll get into it with like the astral projection. But I've tried to meditate in this state before, because they say that if you want to get to astral projection, you have to be able to meditate in that state, and it's hard when you have zhoo, 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 like going in your ears.
Yeah.
But essentially, I remember being told before I had my first sleep paralysis experience that the best way to break out of sleep paralysis is to start by moving like the smaller parts of your body. 'cause I was told this by my sister. So now whenever I get into sleep paralysis, and if you guys ever fall into it, the trick is that you lay there and you start by like moving your fingers and toes, because they're like you'll find you can actually move them a little bit. You can try to scream. This is another thing. People always try to scream. When
Yeah, I
they're
hear a
asleep.
lot, a lot of people try to
Everyone's
scream, like
Everyone tries to go like,
Yeah.
"Help," but all that comes out, you're like,
You're like,
But yeah, you move like your fingers and toes, and then you have to like slowly be able to like move your hand, and then once you like have a little bit of control, and keep in mind you have to do this while there's intense noises and hallucinations going on, so it's easier to focus with your eyes shut. You have to like move your fingers and toes, and then you have to like jerk your body awake. Like for me, I always like get to a point where like when I'm moving, I have to like try to move my hand, and if I can get it to just like move a little bit and land on my stomach, then I wake up. But if you fall back asleep immediately, like because when you
Yeah.
get out of it, you feel an instant sense of relief. The vibrations are done. You're like, oh, thank God,
Yeah.
I can go back to sleep. But if you go back to sleep immediately, the vibrations immediately lock you back in, and you're like, ah, shit. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
Taking notes, Jordan? Taking notes?
No. This is the same. Well, I don't like vibrate or anything like that. I don't be doing any of that.
No, but I mean, as far as the fingers. Stuff.
Yeah, no. I do stuff like that. Like I'm not in my sleep paralysis for like that long, but the thing is like I can't really open my eyes. I have to like really, really try to open my eyes. And every time I'm like, I always have to fight it because just in case I'm actually getting possessed, just in case. And I'm always like, you do not have permission to enter my body. I'm like, you do not have any, you can't do any of that. And I'm like too focused. I'm like, no, like this can't be happening right now. Like every time, and it happens so often, and I'm just like they either want me so freaking bad or my brain just hates me. But like I do that too. I always like move like my fingers first and stuff like that, and then
I wonder if like the lack of control comes from like your because you have that innate fear that you're being possessed, and that subconsciously will prevent you, I think, from being able to control. Because I think in sleep paralysis, it all comes to like how relaxed are you in the moment, and the more relaxed you are, the more the vibrations calm down, the less scary it is, the more movement.
yeah.
you
But that's
can
the
have.
thing. I think we're having like slightly different experiences.
Yeah, they're all different.
Yeah. Because like for me, I need my heart racing for me to like get out of it quicker, because the last 2 times was probably the quickest I ever gotten out of like my sleep paralysis, because that was the first time I ever like saw like stuff, and it scared the shit out of me, and my heart was like racing, and I was like I literally like my body instantly was like, okay, we're awake now. And I was like, okay, but I was so tired. I was like, don't fall asleep right now. And I was like literally turned the brightness up all the way up on my phone, and I was just like watching YouTube videos, and I was like, don't fall asleep right now.
Yeah.
Don't fall asleep right now. But like the last time, I don't know if you guys have like seen Harry Potter or whatever, but did they like apparate and stuff? Like that's like a form of travel that they do, and so it sort of looks like this like swirly, like when I do this, but it's like all different directions. So it
What
looked
are those
like
things
that.
called? Those ghosts or whatever in Harry Potter. That's what.
The whole hold on. There, I know what you're talking about. The Dementors.
Yeah,
The Dementors.
The Dementor.
Yeah, anyway, so it was like that, and I was trying to open my eyes. I was like, please, like, I need to see what this is right now. Like, I don't know what this is. And so I would see that, and then when I could finally open my eyes, I just saw this head floating, and I was like,
Oh.
and my body was like, no, like, isn't that happening right now? And so, like, I woke up, and then I was like, or like, my body woke up, and I was like, that was absolutely terrifying. I think I literally
It
shit
was
myself.
too
Yeah, and then this was like 2 nights ago that I had it again, and I thought like one of my friends was in the bed next to me, and so like I thought I was like dreaming at first, but like I would open my eyes and I would see like just my room, and I'd close my eyes and I'd still see my room, but I would see stuff. So it wasn't like it was like all black. Like I would still see my room, but just something different. So I couldn't really like tell like what was what really.
That makes me think it's like astral projection, right?
Oh yeah, I was like, I don't know, like maybe I was like in between or something, but I looked and like my friend was like, you need to be quiet, because I was trying to like say something, and it was like that and they were like, you need to be quiet, you're being too loud. And I was like, what? And I opened my eyes and like they weren't there, and I was like,
That's
Yeah.
creepy.
Okay. And like I couldn't move though. I could only open my eyes. And then like from the corner of my eye, I see from one side of my bed, like this black figure, like this human shaped figure, slowly walk from that side of my bed across into mine. And I was like, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
done.
And I was like, okay, like we need to get up right now, like right now. And then I woke up. But yeah, it was like
Sleep paralysis figures love walking across beds.
yeah, I was like,
Isn't that weird?
And why so
It's always-
slowly?
Yeah, it's always on the bed.
yeah.
Yeah,
A lot
they
of
just
all
love
places.
being creepy. Why
Yeah.
can't they just like not be creepy? You know?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, you're doing a little too much right now.
Yeah.
But I've like when I had it, I never saw anything. I didn't really hear anything either. I would just feel like a pressure. It'd either feel like something was pushing me or like pulling me, like Freddy Krueger style,
Oh.
just like pulling me into the bed.
And it's a weird pressure, isn't it? It's like the pulling is really intense.
Yeah, it was like if like someone like sat on your
like
chest.
push it, like
I was
a
like,
pushing, yeah.
I was like, oh okay. So it wasn't like that scary. I wasn't like super eager to. I think the first time it happened, I thought I died. I thought I died because I had a dream that I died, and I
Well,
went to the
it's
afterlife.
so
and
cool.
then
I think it is. I think you're absolutely
you did die.
getting into.
You're dead for like.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not dead, but absolutely going into this
Yeah.
dream that is bringing up those sort of subconscious visions or subconscious, like your friend.
yeah.
But that your friend could, like, as clear as day, right?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, because we just saw each other. Like, they just dropped me off at home. And, like, I was like, I'm so tired. I'm going to bed immediately. And I guess, like, my brain thought they were, like, sleeping over or something.
Yeah.
And so that's why I saw them. I don't know. Unless it was, like, a subconscious thing. Like, maybe it was just, like, a way of my brain to, like, comfort itself or something. But I don't know. It was really freaky. And I was like, I just don't like see stuff like, I don't know how to explain it. Like I see it in like my foremind. Like I don't know how to explain it. I always say like it's like there's like a movie playing, but I can still see the background. Like if it was like on like a sheet or something, you can still kind of see the background, but like there's other stuff going on.
Right.
It was like it was
Almost
kinda
like two layers or something.
yeah. So it was like that. And that's usually how like I see things, but like I don't see it as like it was like an actual like person right next to me. Like that's how it felt. Like it was
okay.
like there was like someone right there.
It was just
like,
a
I was like
a presence,
yeah.
essence, rather than
yeah, I was like, this is like a literal person right next to me. It wasn't like, oh, like this is like a spirit or something communicating. I was like, that is like someone I know right
Yeah.
next to me. I'm
No,
like,
the feeling is very real. I've had that too. Like where I don't see anything and I like hear the noises, but then I feel like someone behind me. Like when
Yeah.
I'm laying on my bed.
yeah.
There's some times where I'm like laying down and I'll be like on my side and I'll fall into sleep paralysis and I'll like I'll
I
wake up.
hate when
look
I'm
at-
on
yeah.
side when it happens.
Yeah, I'll like look at the wall and I'll be like, okay, I know that there's like something behind me. And then like there's one time I even saw I forget if it was like a hand or a tail or something, but I saw something like go on my chest and I was like, oh, that's sick. Time to wake out of this. Wake up out of this. Wiggle my fingers.
Yeah, like I'm done. I'm done.
I'm like, they're getting a little handsy now.
It's you're there. You're there. Are you interested in doing astral projection?
Oh yeah, that's like what I was trying to do. So.
Then okay. So you're fine. Just keep doing it.
Okay.
You're on the right
Because it'll
track.
just happen. It will just happen. It'll just happen. And then all of a sudden, it'll happening. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay. And then you won't have
Wait, so
like you won't be so strange about
a
the
question
sensations.
that I have about astral projection actually. Would you consider shared dreams in the same realm as astral projection?
I don't.
Because I have an
That's a
interesting
good
story about that.
question.
Do you? I want to hear
You know
your.
what? That's one of the
I-
things that I thought about too.
I am still conflicted as to if it's a dream state or an expression of unconscious dreamlike.
Well, people think
Or-
that dreaming is actually just like when we dream, we are astral projecting. Like you're just going somewhere. You know?
It is in that
We're all going to
same-
set for the
like,
day
we're going
for a
to
little
the same
dream.
place. Like I'm thinking that you're simply just you're just simply now awake in the dream.
Mm-hmm.
And in that sort of sleep paralysis, you're still in the dream. You're just awake thinking you're so much in the
Yeah.
bedroom.
Because it
that You're more in the dream than you're in your bedroom.
Yeah, but that makes
in
me
that
think of
paralysis almost.
like lucid dreaming, because you're talking about like shared dreaming and stuff like that, like that too. Because I'm wondering, like, some people think that's like just dreaming in general is astral projection, because people, when they lucid dream and they interact with like the people in it, they're always like, don't let them know or something, like they say stuff like that.
The reason I bring that up is because I had one experience with my sister that I'm wondering, I'm just wondering if this wasn't a form of astral projection. We grew up in this like house. It's like a very big house, and like it, to me and my sister, because like it was during a lot of our developmental years, we have like a very like we feel like we have a very spiritual tie to this house, but we haven't been there since like I was in 6th grade, she was in 7th grade, and there was one night randomly like a year ago where I remember I had a dream where I was back in her room. This was like a huge house. She had a huge room upstairs, and I was in her room. Her room was empty, and she was in there too. And all that was in her room was the bed against the wall, and there was this weird orange glow coming in, and then in the back of the room it was like this darkness, and it felt like an evil energy. And I remember I was just in there, we interacted near the bed, and then I like walked out, went back to my room, and I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, oh, that was a weird dream. And then she texts me like a week later, she's like, oh, have you like I had a weird dream. We call it the Margarita House because it was on Margarita Road. She was like, I had this weird dream at the Margarita House. I was like, what happened? She was like, well, I was in my room and like you were there, and I was like, interesting, because I had a dream that we were at the Margarita House and we were in your room. And she was like, I was like, what did it feel like? She was like, well, there's a weird orange glow coming from like from the window. And I was like, do you remember anything else like about like your room? She's like, well, it was just the bed. And I was like, just the bed. Do you remember like the back corner of your room? Was there anything weird about that? She was like, yeah, it was like pitch black, and she felt like there was an entity there. And she said that I was there too. It was only me and her in the dream. And we both had it from our perspectives.
Yeah,
That is crazy.
What do you? How do you explain it?
Yeah.
I also just like wonder if, because you've had so many like shared experiences there, but also because like, you know, you have a connection, like a deep connection with, you know, your siblings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That maybe it just allows it, like it's just like easier to have that happen.
Yeah.
Because I've had like a few shared dreams, like only like 3, but it was like with like really close friends and stuff. And it's just like, I don't really know how to.
Ask the question, was it the same night?
Yes, it was the same night. We talked about it.
Oh.
Yeah, that's one thing. We traced it back, and we're like, what night did it happen? And like we both, like I'm getting chills even like thinking about it. Because like when we both found out, like we both had like tears in our eyes. We're like, there's no way.
So have you guys thought of what that orange orb is all about?
Yeah, we were thinking about that a lot. And we had one more shared dream after that in the same house, which is why we think that there's something spiritual about the house. It was
Drawing
like,
you back.
yeah, that's what we were
You
thinking.
know what though? Like I've had like dreams like that because in the other episodes I've done, I talk about a situation that happened in the house that I used to live in with my mom and my stepdad in LA. And when we moved out here, I remember having dreams of being back in that house, dealing with this same spirit or entity or whatever it was. And it was a repeated cycle. It would just happen constantly. And it was always this lady in a white dress with like really black eyes. And it never changed. I was always in the same living room, just like face to face with her. And I was trying to like get her to say what she was trying to tell me. And I had nothing, and it was a continuous cycle of just being back in that house.
Yeah, I feel like our consciousnesses and our spirits are definitely tied to specific places.
Yeah.
And maybe it has something to do with childhood, because I know that supposedly a lot of spirituality is heightened when like during childhood when you have less control of it. So that's what I kind of think is going on, like with that house in particular. Just because I had a lot of emotional experiences at that house, and same with my sister. You know, being the developmental part of our life, like that's where we grew up. But yeah, I don't know, because even living there, I remember when I was a kid, that room in that corner was a very, like, it felt evil at the time. So like like it was weird that we both had that dream, and in that corner we felt the evil energy.
Still picking up on it.
Yeah, years
and
later.
both of you.
At the same time.
That is mind blowing to me.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then I remember she talked to her coworkers, because she had coworkers that are into the whole spiritual thing, and she had some that did research on like dreams and shared dreams and stuff like that. And they were just saying like their theories, because it could be a number of things, is that it could be like our spirit saying that we have unfinished like emotions and unfinished like things like tied to that house, like we maybe never had certain things resolved with our childhoods of that house, and because we're both shared and we have the same, like we're both like we're a year apart, so it's like almost the same exact thing, like that's why we're both having it at the same place. Maybe it's like a call for us to, because like we kind of grew apart a little bit just due to life. Maybe it's like our spirit saying like, oh, you guys should reconnect a little bit. Like there could be a number of reasons why we had it, but yeah, the reason I mainly brought that up is because with your experience with astral projection, like do you think that has anything to do with like astral projection, or do you think it's more of like a different realm?
I don't know. I now see, I think that's a different realm. I feel like that sort of connection, those sort of uncanny connections. How did you have the same, very similar dream on the same night? I don't know. I think that
Especially
feels
since it was like
different than this
unintentional
ability.
too.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that?
I said especially since it was unintentional too. But not only that, like we don't know a lot about dreams in general. Like there's not really much research
There's
on
no
it. It's really
explanation.
hard.
Yeah.
And are we really going anything, or is it just a dream? Are we actually?
Like,
Did you go to that house? And was your sister there too?
But-
and was that right?
But like, have you ever had dreams where you go to places that you've never seen in your entire life?
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're wondering like how, like, where am I?
How did I
get here?
conjure that?
Yeah, how did you construct this
what
thing
is
in
it
your
like
mind?
precognitive dreams or something? Like you like I don't remember the word.
Precognition.
Yeah, I'm like you
Minority
dream about
Report.
something before you go there, or
Oh,
like you
yeah.
dream about someone before you meet them. Like I've had that
I've had
happen to
dreams
me
like that, yeah.
too many times. Like
I
it's
like,
just so creepy.
because well, the other day it was when you guys were texting in that chat. He said something and I was like, "Holy shit, that's deja vu!" And I was like, "Okay."
you said that.
Yeah, and I was like, "Wait a minute." Yeah, I was like, "Okay," but I've had dreams like that where it's like I dream it and then later on I experience it, and it's and it always happens every time I wake up with a headache too. Which
Oh, you wake up with a headache?
I wake up with like this really bad headache.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I'm just like, "What the hell just happened?" But
Yeah. I had a dream that my sister had gotten in a car accident, and it was I had a day, and the date, and it was August 26th. I guess it's coming up, but but this was years ago, and the date had passed, no problem. The next day, my mom called. Do you know what happened to your sister? She did. She had gotten in a car accident on that day.
On that day?
On that day, and it's like I don't believe in it. And was it?
So wait, so
Just-
how far apart are you and your sister?
We're 2 years apart.
2
She's
years apart.
younger.
Okay. Because I've heard where it's like when you guys are so close in years, it's like a bond type thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like you guys are connected mentally or something like that, and it's just.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's what I've heard. I don't know how much of it is true, but that's what I've heard. Like people say, like even when moms and kids, like they know something is up because they feel it in their stomach. You know. And-
Yeah, like an
it's so funny
intuition.
when you say that, because in my mind I'm like, oh no, we're making this up, or it's not. There isn't. It's not reality based. Too coincidental.
Yeah.
But then when you say, oh yes, but then when it's with your children, oh yeah, that's true. That's totally true. You get, you have those feelings and sensations like, oh yeah, they're in trouble. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I feel like it's hard to like believe at first until you've experienced it a lot, or like you have like shared experiences, or like you tell someone and it's like, oh yeah, that happened to me too, and it's like, oh okay, so like I'm not crazy, because I think that's the hardest part is like people or like society really is like, oh, if you see things, if this happens, like you're crazy, like you're schizophrenic or something or whatever, and I'm like, oh, like dang, like
But if a lot of people see it, then it's a phenomenon.
yeah, and I'm
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
okay, so it's. I think for a long time I was like, oh, like I think I'm just like losing it or something, until I started talking to more people who are like spiritual and stuff like that, like my sisters and stuff, and then I was like, oh, okay, like I feel a bit better, like because it just like it didn't feel like schizophrenia and stuff like that. It was just like, and then having like shared experiences with people, I was like, Like, what's the probability of both of us being schizophrenic? Like, yeah.
Is it like kind of like, oh, I know this thing, but it's too ridiculous to say it? Or
Yeah, I just felt like I didn't want to talk about it for the longest time, especially like since I would like see things. I was like, oh, like I'm gonna get made fun of for this. Like people are gonna say I'm crazy. Like my friends are gonna like stop being friends with me and all that stuff. But when it got to the point where like the things like spirits would tell me like were like true and like real, it was when I was like, that's like too coincidental. Like, you know, once it's like it's just a coincidence, and like two, it's like okay, maybe. But like after like hundreds of times throughout my life, I'm like,
this is more
I'm either
than
just
coincidence.
really good at guessing, or it's that, you know. So I don't.
So I don't know if you want. I don't know if you want to jump into this, Kenny. But you were talking. You messaged me, right, telling me about this crazy story at the house you were living at.
Yeah.
Is this the Margarita house?
No, this was a complete. So every house I've had has had, like growing up, has had weird experiences. But yeah, no, the story I told you, that's like completely unrelated. That's just a ghost story.
Oh, damn.
Ooh.
Dude, anything knows here when it's related to that kind of stuff. You know?
Okay. Yeah, I don't think this one's quite related to anything spiritual, but it is an odd story, like one
I mean,
that I.
who doesn't enjoy a good ghost
Yeah.
story?
Yeah.
In the spirit of Halloween coming up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is a completely separate house. This was my my house throughout high school. So I moved into this house when I was in ninth grade, and when I moved in, it was vacant for a lot of years, and like the other neighborhood kids would tell me and my sisters like, "Oh, you guys got the haunted house." Like, no, everyone moves in, moves out immediately. I'm like, I was terrified of ghosts growing up because, you know, like the first house I lived in was like the ghost house. Like I have so many stories with that. But yeah, we moved into this high school house, and we hear that. I'm like, oh great, here we go. And I didn't see anything for like a good year or two. Other than my parents being like, oh, we heard the cabinets moving downstairs, and there's one incident where my mom was like, she got freaked out. My mom doesn't believe in that type of stuff, but she was like, I hear children's footsteps in the attic upstairs, and the attic is like so small, like no one could get up there. And I was like, okay, that's kind of creepy. But there was one day in particular that there was a guest house attached to it. So me and my sisters, I have four sisters total. I have 5 sisters, but there were 3 of them. We were all gonna sleep in the guest house, like have a little sleepover. So the lights are off. My parents are in bed. The entire house is like black. Me and my sisters are all in the guest house, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go in the house and get my pillow and blanket. So I go into my house alone, and I walk down the hallway to get to my room. And as I'm walking down the hallway, I stop because at the end of the hallway, about 5 to 6 feet in front of me, I see a 7-foot tall black shadow figure, and it's standing there. And I'm a very logical person, and even though I'm scared, I'm staring at this for a solid 10 seconds. I'm like, okay, let's do some deduction here. It could be weird lighting coming in, like moonlight causing my shadow to appear bigger, right? So like as I'm looking at it, I see its hands planted firmly to its side like my hands are. I'm like, okay, so if I move my hands around and wiggle my arms, then it's going to wiggle its arms too. So I wiggle my arms, and then I stare directly at its hands, which are planted firmly at its side while I'm wiggling my arms. So right when that happens, right when I see it not budge, I flip the light on, it disappears. I run into the bathroom past it. I call my sister. I'm like, you got to come in here. She's like, why? I'm like, I'll tell you after. Like, you just got to walk me out. So like I walk out and I tell her, and she starts crying. She's like, why? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, I wish I could tell you. And I forget about it from that day on. Well, I don't forget about it, but
yeah.
You tried.
Yeah, push it back.
like I try to pretend that didn't happen. And you'd think that's the end, but years later, after I moved out of the house, my youngest sister at the time, like I have a younger sister. my youngest sister, she tells me, she's like, Kenny, I just had a weird experience, because she's also into paranormal stuff. I'm like, what happened? She's like, I just saw a ghost. I'm like, okay, well, like, what was it? And a completely different part of the house. She's like, well, I was in the bathroom, and then when I looked in the mirror, standing behind the doorway, I saw she described it as an 8-foot tall black shadow figure just standing, staring at her. And she didn't remember my story. I'm like, I told her, I was like, are you fucking with me? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, tell me you're fucking with me right now. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I told her my story, and then she started crying. She's like, I don't remember that. No. I don't remember that story at all. And then I started like tearing up. I'm like, don't say that to me.
Don't say it to me.
So we both saw the same figure in the same house years apart.
Years apart.
Yeah, in different parts, which is creepy. But that's I mean that's the end of that story. With like that's the last time we ever saw that. We moved out of that house completely. My family doesn't live there anymore. So now there's a new family that gets to see that.
Do you ever wonder, like, maybe it can get attached to you and follow you to wherever you go?
That's what I was wondering for the longest time, just because every house I lived in had like
Some
paranormal
kind of
things.
stuff going on.
Or
Yeah,
do you think you're
Is
just
it
more
you?
like attuned to like paranormal things?
Yeah, I think I'm wondering if it's more my parents, because since I've moved away from my parents, they've gone down significantly.
Oh.
And
Maybe they're attached to your parents.
that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me with my parents. But that house in particular, I know there was one other incident that I saw that is notable for me. It was towards the end of my time living there. You'd like walk in the house, and then there'd be like stairs going up and like a little banister at the top where someone could like peek over. And
That's exactly how I imagined it in my head when you were talking. Yeah, okay.
and
Little eyes poking up. Poking out.
but like every day I'd get home from like work, and then my youngest sister, like she lived in the room up there. Like I'd walk in the door, close it, and then she'd like walk over and like look over the edge and be like, "Hey, what's up, Hannah?" And she'd be like, "Hey, Kenny." And then she'd like go back to her room. And there was one day that I came home, closed the door, and then I look up and I just passively I see a little girl staring at me. You can see where this is going. And I'm like, "Hey, Hannah," doesn't say anything, runs away back in the room. And then I just get this super uneasy feeling, like chills in my body. Something feels wrong, you know. And I'm like, I'm gonna go upstairs and see real quick if that was really her. And I scope out the entire house, and I was the only one in the house. The only one, yeah.
Well, that actually, I like shivered a little bit. I was like, okay.
When you become the only person in the house and you witness stuff like that, it just... I would just run out and not even gone back, dude. Honestly.
See, I didn't even run out, because at that point my family was living there for like 7 years. I'm like, well, if it wanted to hurt me, it would have done something by now.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, clearly it's just observing. So like, if you want to like watch me go in my room and play like Minecraft, like feel free.
Yeah, like I get it.
Play with me.
Yeah, like you can watch. Like that's what's funny about like paranormal experiences. Like when because like when I was a kid, I'd watch movies like Signs, you know, that M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
We just saw. Well, we
Yeah,
just watched.
I just
it.
watched that the other night again too. But yeah, like I would watch that and then I'd go to bed scared. I'm like, the aliens are gonna get me. And I remember it's something that stuck with me. My sister told me, she's like, why would they come and get you the night that you decided to watch M. Night Shyamalan Signs? Like, why would they choose that night? Like,
Oh, right.
Can I ask
Just
you,
to mess with
Because
you.
peak fear, you know? Like, you.
did you put tin foil on your head?
when I was a kid, my parents wouldn't let me. No, they'd kick my ass if I did that.
You're wasting the foil.
No. I was never really that scared of like aliens like abducting me. I guess I was just like, if it happens, it happens. Like, you know.
I was scared of the unknown
Word.
humanoid figure part of it. Like that's why I was scared of
Yeah.
ghosts. Like I just
Okay.
didn't like the big looming figure.
So, talking about aliens, have you guys seen that movie, The Fourth Kind?
No.
No.
Oof.
I haven't seen many alien
So,
movies.
okay,
Besides the pinheads, coneheads.
No, this
What the heck
movie-
are they called? The one with the.
This movie, it's an alien movie
Uh-huh.
based on true events. And at the beginning of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
the actors tell you it's up to you if you want to believe this or not. And they literally play side by side clips of what actually happened and the reenactments.
And okay.
So the one that really got me was the lady's floating in the air and her jaw just like completely dislocates out of her face and it's just hanging.
No.
Like that's one of the movies that really made me think, could there really be aliens, or could it just be like a mixture of having something to do with like a demonic presence, or
I just don't feel like
playing it out?
aliens would have like malicious intent. No offense to like us, but I think like humans are probably like really low on the spectrum of like smart species. And I think they're all just like what's the point? We're like a puppy to them. They're like
They might be
Yeah, there's a
looking
lot
at
of
us,
theories on that, 'cause,
looking
like,
down on us.
if a civilization were to make it out of their own planet, they would have to be able to cooperate. And in order to cooperate, they have to probably not be like a warmongering species.
yeah, I was
Like,
gonna say like
to have gotten that far, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would imagine, or at least that's just like
Yeah.
our conception as Earthlings.
But do you believe like there are like other universes with other like, some
but-
kind of species
Ye-
that look like
yes.
us?
Yes.
There has to be statistically, there has to be at least one other species that naturally
It's
like
just, like,
came
we've
around
been-
that look like us. Just
yeah, like-
thinking about all the planets
Right,
around
'cause
all the
Forever
stars.
expanding,
Yeah.
like
And what
infinite
if
universe.
they're here already and just decided to fit in?
Well,
I mean, hey, that's up
there's
to them. I don't know
conspiracy
why
theories that they're
here,
already
but
Well,
God
there's
damn it, we
theories-
knew it.
Well, there's theories that those ones are actually people from the future that have evolved far past us, to like the same way that like we would look like aliens to Homo sapiens because of how we've evolved. Like, what about humans? Like thousands, hundreds of thousands of years in the future, where technology has gotten so good they can go to the past. Like they're probably
Just
their
back
jaws
and
are gonna
forth.
get smaller, their heads are gonna get bigger, their eyes are gonna get bigger, type thing. And to them, they're like, yeah, we're humans. But to us, we're like, what the hell are you?
right.
yeah.
So that's like one theory I know that people have.
I know some people say that like if they do try to like fit in with like humans, just to help to like raise our like consciousness or whatever to like a different like state, like a more elevated state or whatever. But I know that was like a big thing when like the whole like Project Bluebeam thing was going on, and then like everyone was coming out with all these different theories and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
It seems like that. The theory that I'm hearing is that you kind of contact aliens through this different wavelength that you're not seeing.
yeah, I think I
directly,
feel like they
that
have to
it's-
be like on a higher wavelength than we
Yeah.
are. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and they're just trying to like, like we're trying to help you guys. We feel a little bad for you. You're a little stupid. Let's all come on. Yeah, like
Same way that we treat,
Stupid.
like
Yeah.
the same way we treat like other animals that aren't as like high of a consciousness as us. We're like, yeah, we feel
Yeah.
bad for you. Like we're gonna extend the hand. Like to them, we're like these crazy like huge beings. Like the same way that we would look at aliens and be like, whoa, you guys are crazy.
yeah.
I almost feel like I believe in aliens more than I believe in ghosts.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like aliens have to exist. There's no way that we're like the only.
Exactly.
Only
Because I mean,
one.
if you look up, where
There's
does
lots.
space end?
and we know from Garbage Wars.
It doesn't.
Yeah. And depending on what you
Garbage wars.
depending on what you believe in, if you believe in the theory that life was created with like the meteor impacting, causing like life to start on Earth, and that just being a statistical probability, like then think like if that can happen here, that can literally happen anywhere else, if not everywhere.
It's just like
else.
making me like my body go
it making you
cold. It's making me like realize like how like small and insignificant we are. Like
Like, are we like the smallest planet that has or some like living species?
Yeah,
Or...
well, it just gets crazy when you think about it like truly on the scale. Like if you ever look at a raw picture of the stars up above, and then like you really like put into thoughts, like you see like, because when you look at the stars in the sky above you, all the stars you see are stars in the Milky Way galaxy. But if you take a picture and you zoom in, you see these huge galaxies that look like stars lurking behind those
Right
stars.
behind.
And then you think about that and you're like, all these stars that we see in the sky are just in one galaxy. Now think of all of the millions of galaxies beyond that are
exactly.
behind, that have
That are
Yes.
that are galaxies unto
Yeah,
themselves.
it's insane. Those galaxies form superclusters in themselves, and it's
Have you
just
seen
like,
the
Jeez,
first
that
Men in Black
that's so
movie?
anxiety inducing.
I haven't, but I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, where at the ending it's
Yeah,
just
it
like
zooms
zooming
out.
out, and it's like all these other galaxies. That's what I've always thought about. Like,
Well, it's funny
is it true?
because like yeah, the whole zooming out on the galaxy thing. My brain's starting to like go too crazy now.
Yeah.
Let the crazy out, man. Let the crazy out.
Yeah, like when you zoom out all the way, have you seen pictures of like what the hypothetical like
This is
cluster
my
of galaxies
horror.
looks
This is
like?
Scary to me.
No.
It looks like a nervous system, like if you zoom out all the way.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
that-
Yeah, and that like it's something that I used to think about all the time. Like I feel
Like how it dendrons almost.
yeah, like
yeah.
I feel like physical, like I don't want to call it nature, but just things physically seem to repeat itself at smaller and bigger levels, the same way that like atoms
Yeah.
have like the nucleus with electrons rotating around it, and
That's what I was trying to explain to you last time, man.
Yeah,
You were
like-
what the fuck are you talking about?
like the Earth has the moon rotating around it, the same way that the atoms have that rotating around it, and then the Earth rotates around the sun.
Yeah.
And then everything rotates. Like it's just like everything
And it's
that
just-
is smaller exists bigger. So like if you take that theory and you keep going, then the cells in our body are probably little galaxies to the little things living in there, the same way that
Oh
we're
my
probably
gosh,
a
yeah.
part of a bigger
My
nervous
guy.
system.
Right now, we're just we're here.
Yeah.
We're here.
Oh my god.
That's like
microbe.
that always like has had me wonder for years. Just like, man, there's.
Mm.
I would love to meet another form of species from another planet, just to
Yeah.
Mhm.
like how
Just to see.
how different do we communicate? How like
If we
what-
can even communicate at all,
Exactly.
because like we as organic creatures on Earth have evolved to communicate verbally and through facial features and through walking. But like, what about another planet where eyes don't exist?
yes,
What about
it's all
another?
smell.
Yeah,
or
like-
it could be all you know,
Different snips.
Yeah,
Like, well, what if their form of communication, like they just emit gases and like that's like how they talk. They're like, we can't
Yeah.
fathom it. We wouldn't understand.
Right, right.
yeah.
It's like the same way that like
This
we,
one smells nice. It must be happy.
yeah, like we require a certain composition of oxygen, nitrogen, like all of that to breathe. But what about like, because they say that life could be on like one of the moons of Saturn that has no oxygen, but they survive in a sea of nitrogen.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's like there's so many different ways that life can exist. So tying this back to ghosts. Believe it or not, I'm gonna find a way to.
yeah. Okay.
I
Okay.
kind of think that ghosts might be in a realm of that. Like maybe they're not like paranormal, like like too unbelievable if you look at it in the perspective of it's just another thing that we can't fathom the same way that we wouldn't be able to fathom another life form. Like
Right.
what if it's like
Right.
dimensional? Like for
Yeah.
ghosts I like to think dimensional, and for this I like to go to the example of like if you just look at dimensions and the shadows they cast. This is my theory on ghosts. Something that's two-dimensional casts a one-dimensional shadow. So something that's three-dimensional casts a two-dimensional shadow. So then something that's fourth-dimensional would cast a three-dimensional shadow. And what if that's what a ghost is?
Dude, I
Okay.
never thought of it.
What
that
the? I've
That is-
never heard of
that
that
is fucking
before.
wild.
So what's the
Okay.
So-
the something?
What?
The something we don't know, we can't fathom it. We're not in the fourth dimension. And the fourth
So-
dimension is supposedly the fourth or fifth, I forget. And this is all just like rough science. Like I don't know any of this. I'm just some guy. But
Yeah, I'm just-
I know that
Patterns.
my theory is that it has something to do with time, and that's why it comes off as like human-like. And that's why you see a lot of things like old colonial people appear as ghosts, because it's time and something with the fourth
I've heard that
dimensional with like
before.
with like time ripples.
Are you thinking
Yes, I've heard that theory
this
before.
so are you thinking like almost film, like a snapshot camera regurgitation of energy,
Of like a-
or are
yeah.
you thinking real entity that has now manifested?
Yeah, like
in
do you
this-
think it's like sentient, like it's trying to like
I think it could be
communicate?
both.
matrix
I think
snapshots that get disorganized or no?
I think that it could be both. I think it could be something that's stuck reliving the same moment over and over again type of situation, and then occasionally it'll cross over into like our realm hundreds of years later, and then we'll see like this guy in like a 1700 suit walking by, and we'll be like, oh no.
Okay,
But
so
You're just-
with that theory that you just have that you explained, do you ever wonder maybe the time that we're living in now could be something that people from the future are seeing
Oh
as-
yeah.
100%. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's exactly what's happening.
Wow.
And that also goes into what you guys
Dang.
were saying about dreams and being able to see the future.
Yeah.
If that's the case and you can see the future and all time is kind of fluid and going back and forth with each other, who's not to say that you seeing the future is just a cause of this other dimension that we can't fathom yet, and it's just your third dimension kind of meshing with it in this dreamlike
God.
consciousness.
Yeah.
Kenny.
Yes.
Well, okay.
Snaps around.
I'm. Where does then you were mentioning that sort of evil, like an evil entity, or does that
Demonic
is that
versus-
demonic? Is demonic different than say ghost-like, or
I would say demonic is
Okay.
because I think like you know what they say, like if you're like bad in life, you're bad in death or whatever. Like when you're a ghost, I don't think it like you can be like maybe like a little bit of like a trickster spirit, but I don't think you're like a demon.
I think
But
demonic-
maybe it's like because some people say like certain energies like manifest it into like something. So
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like that's just tied to energy, really.
Yeah, see,
Demonic
that's what I'm
energy is
saying,
just
mhm.
Bad energy is compared to like if you were to see a ghost like the ones that I experienced in my childhood homes that didn't harm me, those didn't have bad energy. They just had neutral energy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wouldn't classify them as demonic. They're just neutral. But if they had bad energy, then it's just a label. I think demonic is just a label.
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
To say that it's
yeah.
doing it's doing some kind of harm in some kind of way.
a harmful energy. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But so for me, I also think, because a lot of people tie it to religion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fallen angels, or
Heaven and hell.
yeah. So to take away that religion aspect, then what is it? You know?
Do you?
It's really just a name
I
at the end of
was
the day.
almost wondering if religion plays a part in how much
I wonder if they
you might
manifested it
believe
into like
in
existence
Exactly,
or
yes.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, gosh, there's lots of religions that believe in supernatural, that
So
believe in
many.
miracles, that you're set at birth sort of having this kind of understanding of a supernatural, that it might influence that belief.
Yeah, I don't mean this as a way to offend anyone that has religious views, but I personally feel like religious beliefs in that aspect are just like that interpretation of what's happening. Like if the science says that it's a fourth dimensional being, then the religious interpretation of demons and stuff is one particular group's interpretation of what's going on. Like it's the same thing, just being interpreted differently.
Yeah, this is what we're saying about that same thing.
Yeah, it's like their way to like explain it to someone else, like so other people can understand it. Because if you try to explain to someone that has no idea what dimensions are, the idea of like fourth dimensional beings, they might not get it. But if they know about religion and you're like, they're
it's a
demons,
completely
like
different-
they're like, oh, bad energy. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, not open-minded to understand different ideas of how things can work.
Yeah.
And I was gonna ask you something right now. Just go ahead.
Well, it's also, I was thinking when we were talking about a little bit earlier, is like multiple dimensions, because I know a lot of people think that like we sort of like there's a theory that like death isn't real, that we kind of, our consciousness just shifts to like a very, very similar reality where we're like alive.
Quantum immortality. Yeah.
Yeah, that. Thank you. Yes, exactly that. So I kind of believe in that. I feel like I've died like a few times.
I mean, who's to say we're not dead right now? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dang.
Like,
Dang.
How-
And this
like-
is what we're doing, guys. We just say this isn't hell.
right?
I've had that thought many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like you experience bad stuff and you experience good stuff. To me, like this whole thing with religion, it's just how you want to interpret the bad situations and the good situations, how you want to deal with them. I mean, you can't control everything, so
Yeah, everyone wants a way to explain things to like so it makes sense, because no one wants to go through an experience and have it remain unexplained.
exactly.
Well, because a lot
Or
of people
not
are
meaning-
scared of like.
mean something.
People
yeah.
need meaning
Meaning,
to
yeah.
experiences to help process them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like a really huge thing with like religion is like it's kind of scary, like the unknown and everything. So it's a bit of like a comfort thing too. It gives you like a little bit more like purpose and like you said like meaning and stuff.
Gives you some kind of peace.
Yeah.
Almost an explanation that it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah.
But I mean, there's this guy that I follow on YouTube. His name is Myron Golden, and he goes into the Bible a lot, but he explains it in a business aspect of it, which is like trippy to me because I was like, okay, I never thought of it that way. Like he goes through like the apples and all these other things. I'm just like, okay, to me that makes sense. You know, you multiply your income by doing this, and you know that's just the way he explains it, and so that gave me a whole new perspective on religion or the Bible. You know, but like I said, it's all how you interpret things. To me,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Which is crazy because we all can just interpret one thing in so many different ways. So.
Yep.
So, how would you explain folklore? Like,
Folklore, like, are you talking about like cryptids?
yeah, like anything, just anything that's folklore related, really.
That I have no idea.
Folklore,
Which ones do you believe in?
Yeah.
Crazy old
That's
grandmas.
the like
Crazy
Bigfoot,
old-
the
I'm serious,
Mothman,
Crazy old grandmas love to tell stories, and that turns into folklore.
like wives' tales and stuff like that.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, it could be. You
I
know?
feel like cryptids are probably best explained as just wives' tales, but I still indulge myself in them all the time because it's fun. It's like fun to imagine that they exist.
Well,
Yeah.
what is this you're saying? What is this crypt? What is it?
The stick man.
Oh, okay. I know who you're talking about.
All right. Do we have time to go into the Stickman story?
Let's get into it.
All right. So
Okay. Oh, okay, 15.
15?
Okay, beautiful. Go
Okay.
on.
So yeah, this is one cryptid story that the same little sister that told me that she saw the same shadow figure as me. They now live at Harveston in Temecula, and she called me one morning at 1 a.m. And keep in mind ahead of time, she had no idea what she was explaining. I was the one that put a label to it because I know about it. She called me and she said like, Kenny, I'm stopped right now like on this trail because there's like a trail that goes around the lake, and she said like, I see this like scary thing in front of me. It's not a person, and I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, stay on the phone, turn around, and go back. Like I'm gonna stay on the phone with you, make sure you're alive. And then she like made her way back, and then I'm like, okay, now explain what you saw. And she was like, well, it was this tall. She said it was like 10 feet, and it was like a very skinny. She described it as like just like a very skinny, like lanky arms, lanky legs, like just a pure black body. And I tried getting more information because I immediately had my idea of what it was. And I just asked her more and now like about like what was happening with its body, and she was like, well, it just looked like it was vibrating, and it looked like there was like heat coming off of it, and it was just standing and staring at me, and it wasn't moving. And she said that it was just like by a light pole, and it was just like kind of like crouched behind the light pole, and then I had her draw a picture for me of what it looked like. And then she started crying when I told her that other people have seen the same thing.
Oh, dude.
It's called the Stick Man, and it's loosely what Slender Man is based off of. But like you said, Slender Man was just that was fictional, created as a creepypasta. But it's based off of the Stick Man, which is seen by people around the world. And what people describe as seeing is they say that they get this intense fear that runs through their body, even though this thing is not necessarily harmful. Like that's what's been concluded. This thing has never attacked anyone. But she said that she just felt overwhelming dread, and when people see it, they just like it's called the Stick Man because it's lanky arms, lanky legs, a black face. But it was interesting to me she pointed out the vibrations, because everyone describes the vibrations of the Stick Man, that it stares at you and it looks like it's like phasing in between dimensions almost. And it looks like there's heat coming off of it. And like it was just funny because like I had her, like I said, I'm a logical person, so before I put this idea in her head of the Stick Man, I had her describe it completely to me, only for it to match exactly everyone else's encounter with it.
That is wild, man.
Yeah, and she never saw it again like after that, and that's like the whole idea behind the Stick Man. So then, obviously I went and did more research on it, and the Stick Man supposedly, like I said, is just it's a neutral cryptid. All it does is observes. The theories on it are that it comes from another dimension, which is why it vibrates all weird, like the whole vibration thing. Like that's a very common thing with dimensional beings. But
Just people watching.
yeah, it literally it's just a curious cryptid from another universe coming, observing, and then leaving.
Yeah.
It's Kenny in your sleep paralysis, and you're almost back
Kenny,
into
actually.
focus.
That's me. I'm like, I see you. I see you.
You're almost there.
Yeah.
And then I disappear because I wake up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh,
But yeah,
man.
that's what she saw. That was the one cryptid that she saw. I've gone out cryptid hunting before because I know another popular one in the area is skinwalkers.
Don't
I was
even
gonna
leave.
say,
Stop.
I feel good. With
Everyone
these
just be
stories
saying it with
being
their
in
full
other
chest. I
cities.
can't even.
Yeah,
I'm over-
skinwalkers are creepy.
Skinwalkers.
Oh, you don't like.
This is
saying
my
that word?
house. I live here. Please.
Hey,
Well, what
at
is
least I'm not saying the W word. You know that one.
Don't.
me to say it?
Don't.
Hey, that
Is
one's
it
a,
gonna
No, the
contest
pools are
them?
right
Don't say
there.
it 3
The
times.
pools are right there.
yeah.
Spill it out. Spill it out.
No.
Are you allowed to spell it out? Does that?
You can know later.
It's a very common one up in the northeast, in like the northeastern woods of Canada. It's very closely related. I'm gonna say it again. I'm sorry. It's closely related to the skinwalker, but it's like a different. It's like a different breed.
Text it to me.
I'm gonna throw up.
But yeah, you have to be careful with that one because everyone believes with that one, even mentioning its name, it like manifests it more into like your life.
Stop.
Don't even. You're actually gonna get socked in the
You guys
face.
hear that? No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, yeah, I went like hunting with my friends because we did our research, and supposedly there are 3 that are big in Southern California, like 3 known ones.
Okay.
There's one in Duluth that is known in there.
Sorry.
That's the one that we went hunting for.
Yes.
There's one in Oceanside, and then there's one
Oh.
at Paula. Those are the 3 big ones.
Like-
I'm like,
Yeah.
stop it. I'm going
What
to
is
punch you
the
into the sun.
origin of this, the skinwalker? What is that
So
origin?
that's a Native American origin.
Okay.
So I did all my research on it. I apologize if I get it wrong, but supposedly skinwalkers are there's like Native Americans used to do these rituals, and when it was like some sort of spiritual ritual, and sometimes when they went wrong, it would take the person that conducted the ritual and grossly like misform them into this shape-shifting creature, and over time it turns them like immortal pretty much, and over time they would begin to lose their sense of self and their sense of identity because they would take the forms of so many like creatures, and anything that they kill
Oh,
they can then
no.
shapeshift into.
Oh,
So it's very
actually, like-
common that you would like with these stories, you go into the woods and you'd hear, and I have friends that have like heard it too, like in the woods by Duluth before we knew that there was one in Duluth. You'd hear like a child screaming like, "Mom, help, help," because it would mimic the last words of the victim before it killed it.
Ooh.
So
Like people talk about like it ends up like getting into their house, or it'll like show up as like their animals, like their pets and stuff.
Oh,
yeah, and you can always tell because they're always a little bit different. So like with these ones in Paula and Duluth, they say that the eyes are like a golden hazel, and that you can always tell, like you can tell it's one of them because their fingers will have one extra joint. Like
Oh,
it's like
man.
little tiny things.
Now, are they going to come as human? They're going to come as a human appearance?
They,
Might
it,
just-
whatever they
Oh,
want, I
whatever their
guess.
last kill was,
Yeah.
according to.
Oh, it could be, but I hear that they just do it like in order to like lure you. Like
Yeah.
they'll
Their goal is to lure you, lure you to a
so like
spot.
it'll mimic someone, like it could like mimic like your wife or your sibling or something.
Yeah. So supposedly
Let me
the
see
one
your
in
hands.
Duluth.
Shut.
Supposedly the one in Duluth is
No,
like
guys.
the youngest one because like these people doing the research were able to like date them, and because the one in Duluth is the youngest and they turned like the most recently, like within the past like 100 years or so, they're more animalistic and they're not able to like talk when they're in their human form. And you know, this is all hearsay. This is just what I read.
Yeah.
But, they go after like specific types of people. Like they have types of people that they go after, and I heard that Duluth is like a more like they go after more like grungy type people, and the one in Oceanside goes after more alternative grungy people, and then the one at Paula is supposedly the oldest. That and then they've been around since like or for like 300 years or something like that, and they're able to like perfectly blend in and fit in with the people at Paula, and they feed off of greed. So they pose as like a person. Someone said that they saw them working there like as an employee, like they saw like
Oh,
the extra
shit.
joints on the finger, but they like target the people that are willing to like
Just work
like
a job.
they target the people that come out and like they're so focused on greed, and then they kill them. So like they have different types, but they're able to communicate like as if they're a normal human because they've been around for so
Yeah.
long.
That is wild.
Yeah,
All right.
you can do a whole episode of this podcast.
All right, well,
on
we'll
that.
jump into that another time.
Yeah.
We'll end it there. Dude, my man, Kenny. We're here now, bro. We're here now. Well, I just want to say thank you guys for coming out.
Yes, thank
Yep.
you.
I'm sorry to keep you waiting with you.
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah, we'll do it again for sure. We'll do another podcast episode. I want to hear more about the W word and the skin
See, now,
SWs.
Yeah, that's SW's.
Yeah, man, we got to sit down and
Yeah, maybe we can get some closer to Halloween.
yeah,
Yeah.
These are stories you want.
That
to know.
when we do that, we have to dress up though.
definitely.
Yeah, all of October.
You got it.
hmm
All right, so that's where we'll end the podcast. Thank you, Sue and Kenny.
Thank you.
thank you.
We appreciate you guys watching. Hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. as
Yes,
well.
like and subscribe.
And we'll see you on the next episode. Till
Yeah.
then, peace.
Bye.